This is a very simple lab or project. We'll be working with IntelliJ. This is it right here. So the aim of this project is to bring most of the important aspects of object-oriented programming together in one concept to see how each and every single one of them work together to create something tangible. So in this whole video, it's just going to be about first we'll be talking about Java doc comments, then param, then setters and getters. We'll also explore an interface, abstract class, polymorphism, override, the keyword implement, and the keyword extend. So over here we have the navigable interface. So what an interface actually does is it brings a contract. It's actually a contract that every class, every method, every aspect of the project have to agree to in order to work. It's more like we all have an agreement. This is how every implementation is going to go through. Everyone is going to abide by this rule. So this is what interface actually provides. This is an interface, this is an interface, this is an interface. Right here on ship.java, this is actually an abstract class. So this whole project is all about accident response. So we're actually going to be having lots of aids coming from probably like helicopters, from emergency truck buses, from road vehicles and all of that. So this is going to be ship. So ship is an abstract class right here. What that means is all it can do for us is give us a blueprint. It helps other classes to have this concept of these are the characteristics that we're going to have, but know how to implement it. Right, let's take for instance, okay, everything we have in this project are mostly movable objects. Helicopters are actually going to fly, the trucks are actually going to move, the ships are actually going to like move on water and all of that. But we won't have a simple way in which each and every single one of them moves. So abstract class is what's going to help us or help every other ship to move, because it brings all the characteristics of movement. Then every single one, truck is going to implement its own, helicopters are actually going to implement theirs, and every other aspect. So in summary of this, abstract class just gives us characteristics and aspect of a class and what or ways it can actually move. No implementation, just shared characteristics. Then every single one will have to figure itself out. We can also use an example of animals, right? Animals move, but they just don't move together. Like birds are actually just going to fly, then probably cats or dogs will walk and things like that. So, but they will all have the characteristics of animals, if that makes sense. So that's just what an abstract class mostly talks about. Override, this is just an aspect, just right here. This is just an aspect whereby we have to override some or one of the parent classes, whereby the way it's been defined doesn't necessarily work with the method. So over here we tell the compiler that we want to override this, or we want to override how it's been implemented. Let's see one aspect to talk about here. So let's talk about the keyword extend and implement. So over here, this is 8 ship. This 8 ship, we actually get the characteristics of ship, right? This is a ship right here. It's an abstract class, which means it has lots of characteristics that 8 ship is actually going to inherit. So 8 ship will be getting its characteristics or aspects on which is going to move from ship itself, if that makes sense. So then over here we'll have implement. For this ship to be implemented, it has to adhere to the condition which we've already established on emergency support, which is an interface. Remember I said an interface is a contract where each and every single one of them or the methods have to adhere to. It's a contract. Everyone has to obey this. So what this implement emergency support necessarily means, it ensures that this 8 ship class, right, obeys or sticks to the contract and doesn't, implement or move outside of it. So it just has to obey. It's a contract. Every single person, every single method, every single person. That was funny. Every single method has to actually adhere to an interface. Then I just want to make mention of this. So this over here is Java dog comments. So it's not one of those single comments whereby it's slash slash, or it's more like a pound key and all of that. So this helps us with documentation when it comes to Java and object-oriented programming. Let's see other aspects. So over here we're still having the extend and implements. So this passenger ship is going to be getting these characteristics from the ship class itself. Then this passenger ship is also going to be adhering to the contract being served by passenger services, which is an interface. This is an abstract class. So let's see other important aspects to talk about here. So okay, let's talk about getters and setters over here. So over here we're trying to get the return value, right, for passenger capacity. So what happens over here is we call our getter to actually find it. If it can't find it, we have to set it become the setter, right? This is get passenger capacity, this is the getter, then this is going to be the setter. If you can't find it, then we'll just have to set it here. So this is how it's actually done. This is more like compressed programming. So since this is going to be just a single line, nothing else comes off after, so we'll just compress this method straight on a straight line, if that makes sense. Let me see what aspects we need to talk about. Let's move to this. We're still on setters and getters. Well, let's talk about visibility, right? So for most classes, we want to ensure, it's actually called access modifier. We want to make sure that other methods and other classes don't have access to certain methods, right? Which is why we'll be using keywords like private, keywords like public class, and all of that, to make sure only those in that class actually have access and have information and know that such a class exists. This is for access control, to make sure every single person or every single method keeps its own secret to itself. Every single method actually adheres to its own and keeps its information for safety reasons. In deeper programming, be it procedural programming or parallel programming, this becomes very handy. By the way, this is not procedural. This is parallel programming, where you are bringing different classes, different methods, different objects, and implementing them, not just calling methods, right? Yeah. Let me see if we're missing something. So this is actually a lot, but the whole concept is to bring everything together, to bring interface together, to bring Java doc comments, to bring setters and getters, to bring introduce the concept of, not introduce, but bring abstract class, polymorphism, override, implement, extend, bring each and every single one of these object-oriented programming concepts together to make sure we understand them, to see how they all work together. Because, moving forward, we'll be working on more parallel programming, which becomes more difficult. So it's necessary you understand each one of these concepts right now in order to succeed and move forward. So this is just going to be the test. Yeah, this is just going to be the program we'll be using to test it, right, to see if it actually works. So right now, IntelliJ is just making reference to the aspect that we have this string here. It feels like it's a typo, but it's not. So let's go ahead and run this program and see what happens. Okay, so it's finished with exit code 0, which means it was successful and everything worked as expected. So yeah, this is the output of every single thing that we worked on. Here we have emergency readiness report. We'll have this for the helicopters. We'll have this for truck. So every single thing works as expected. Well, this video is not necessarily to, explain the whole concept of this is how this is done, this is how not to do this and all of that. It's just to see how we put each and every single one of them together to make sure it works. Remember, this is going to be an introduction to parallel programming. It's necessary we get this concept, know how it all works, and succeed. That was long. Thank you for watching.